So in this lesson, we are talking about user input and output, and we're going to be practicing how to use some of these controls that we have in Android Studio to gather input from the user and then do something with that data, and then we'll be able to show it to the user, right? Input, output. So I thought it would be best to start with a demo of the app that we're going to write in this lesson. So let me get it loaded up here, and you can see my phone here on the screen. So in this app, we are gathering user input in the form of a text control. So you can see here it asks for a name. And then down here, I'm going to get rid of this keyboard, we have a little date time picker calendar that you can scroll through and choose, and we're asking what is your date of birth. So I went ahead and added some input in here, and you can see there I put my name in that text box, and I just picked October 1st, 1981. It's not my birthday, it's just some arbitrary date that I threw in there. But when we click the submit button, what we get is, hello, Tiffany, you are 33 years old. Now, so what it's doing is it's gathering that first name information from the control, and it's gathering the date of birth date that is selected from the date picker, and it is calculating the user's birth date based on today's date, and then just giving us this little message. So that's the app that we're going to write in today's lesson. So we're going to get started by starting a new project. I'm going to name this, instead of my application, sample input output. Seems like a good name. All right, we'll click next. Still going to target that ice cream sandwich framework. We talked about this in the first video about why it's best to target the most amount of devices on the Google Play Store in case you were ever going to submit your app to the store. And we're going to choose a blank activity. So you can choose to change these if you want. You want to change your main activity name. I am just going to leave these. The defaults are fine. So when we finish, it's going to take us right into our new project. And like we talked about in the first video, you get this little hello world, and it's not much going on in here, right? Let me get rid of that so we can see that a little better. So I'm going to start by changing this string in the hello world, where you come over to values and you go to strings, and I'm going to change this. Instead of it saying hello world, I want it to say gathering input. All right, and I also want to change the size. So we come down to our properties window, and we come all the way down to text size. And in our context menu, we can choose a dimension. And let's see, we want it pretty big. So let's see, headline material is pretty good. If we can find it. There it is, text size, headline material. So we click OK, and now we get gathering input as kind of a little headline for our UI. So we're going to need those two controls that you saw, a text input and that date time picker control. And so we'll start with the text input, and if you come down here to text fields in the toolbox here in the palette, I used the person name field, which automatically pre-fills in name here on the line that the user can see. And I want to give this, let's see, do I want to give it a name? Let's go ahead and change it. So instead of edit text, we'll scroll up in the properties here. And we want to find the ID property, and I'm going to name this name so I know it's the person's name. And the ID of the control is ultimately how we will find it and use it in the code. So it's important to choose good names and to know or remember what we name them. And so as you saw in the demo app, there was a little
statement here that said, what is your name? And that is just another one of these text controls. So I just picked a medium text. And you don't have to hard code the strings. You can come down in here to text and just type, what is your name? There we go. And then I'm going to get another medium text right underneath that. And it's going to say, what is your date of birth? And I'll show you a little trick. If you don't like to scroll around over here in the properties, anytime you have these text things, you can double click on them. And you automatically get the text and the ID. So I'm going to put, what is your date of birth? And if we wanted to give it an ID name here, you could do that. But that's kind of just a fast way to do it. So in the demo, I showed you the date and time picker. And there's a couple of different ones down here in the date and time section. And it's really up to you on which one you want to use. But for the demo, it's probably better to pick the one that I used, which was the datePicker. And so you can just drag that control onto here. And it takes a little finagling to get it aligned where you want it and make sure that it's got enough space, because as you can see, if it doesn't, it'll get cut off. So once you get that adjusted all where you want it, I changed the name of my control here. Instead of datePicker, I named it date of birth as the ID there, and you can see that it's updating over here in the component tree. And then the last thing we need to add is a button. So we grab our button, and I just kind of put it down here in the corner. You may have to finagle it a little bit to make it fit, because we're working in kind of a weird small space here. And so on the text, I made it say submit, and then I named it, I didn't name it, I just named it button. You could name it submit button or something else. So here's our layout. This is our UI that we will need to gather input from the user. And so in the next little video, as you go through this lesson, we're going to talk about what you need to do to actually get the text that they put in here, gather the date of birth that they've selected in the calendar, and then we're going to look at how to write the method that actually determines how old they are based on the information that they've given us.